Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven and this is the Storytime channel. Today we have some entitled parent stories and our first story is by I Love Pizza 32. Give us a biological grandchild and it better be male. My brother and my sister-in-law have been married for 6 years. I love them both dearly. They adopted a little girl about a year ago. My parents were happy about this too, at first. They got really angry when my brother and sister-in-law announced recently that their daughter would be their only child and they do not want biological kids. My mom and dad lost their crap. They told my brother he had to get my sister-in-law pregnant. He was the family's male heir and he would have to have a biological son to carry forward the family's name. This makes no sense to me, nor my bro and sister-in-law. It's not as if we're a family of European royalty. Who gives a freak about the family name in this day and age? Well, my parents do apparently. They've been berating my brother and guilt-tripping my sister-in-law, making her feel like she's taking something away from our family. On one occasion, they actually suggested that my brother leave my sister-in-law if she didn't want to get pregnant and have a son with another woman. What's even worse is that they've stopped paying attention to my niece. Earlier, they would call and talk to her almost every day, but ever since they were told about my bro and sister-in-law's decision, they've stopped calling her. This pisses me off and has deeply saddened my bro and sister-in-law. The child is 3 years old and doesn't deserve this kind of treatment. Last month, brother told me that mom and dad had called him and they had talked about something unrelated. When he asked if they wanted to talk to their granddaughter, they said they talked to their real grandchild when my brother came to his senses and decided to give them one. I was angrier than I've been in a long time. I called my parents and unloaded on them. I told them how selfish and cruel they were being and how dare they take out their anger on my niece, along with a lot of other things I can't even remember. My mom started crying as she's not used to being yelled at. I used some very harsh words, but I just can't believe they are being so cruel towards an innocent child. After that, my parents have tried to rally our relatives, uncles, aunts, cousins, and our grandparents to gang up on my brother and sister-in-law to pressure them to have a biological child. Male, obviously. However, their plan has failed miserably. Most of the relatives told them they were being crazy. Cousins repeated some of the things I had said to them. Uncles and aunts told them even if they did want a biological grandson, there was no excuse for the way they were treating my niece. Even my grandparents, who are quite old-fashioned, admonished them for their behavior towards my niece. My brother has banned them from his home. I've banned them from mine. This ban will stay in place until they start treating my niece like their granddaughter, i.e., the way she deserves to be treated. I feel like my grandparents shunning my niece hurts even more because when she first became a part of the family, they appeared to love her. They would speak to her on the phone, play with her when they visited, but all of that stopped when they found out that my brother and sister-in-law won't be having any biological kids. They just rejected a little girl for no fault of her own. So let's place you in the shoes of OP's brother. You've adopted a child and you love them dearly, and you decide that you don't want any biological children. Your parents absolutely shun you and only want you to have a biological male child. Knowing how they're now treating your adopted child, would you be able to or want to cut off contact altogether with your parents? Let me know if you think that's the right decision or if you would be able to make such a tough decision in the comments down below. Our next story is by Anita-Derange. An oldie, but a goodie. It's me again, back with more drama Goblin Bull. I've been getting a few PMs asking me for more about her. Here's one that doesn't hurt the soul so bad. This was back when we were in our mid-20s, clearly living on our own, i.e. with our own families. She was married to her first husband, but had decided to try polyamory. Only she was allowed to have other relationships, not her hubs at the time. He never agreed, but she ended up moving in another woman for herself anyway. But once her husband got a taste of a normal woman, he and the other woman started sleeping together behind Drama Goblin's back. When Drama Goblin found out, she was so upset, and her son, part-time, and her come to stay with me. At the time, I didn't have children yet, but I was married. And so the story begins. One afternoon when I was off work, I was super cleaning. Drama Goblin can't be bothered to pick up after herself, let alone her toddler. We shall call him Kai. I had cleaned my bedroom, the living room, dining, bathroom, and was finishing up the kitchen. Kai runs up and asks for happy cakes. I was still doing dishes at the time. Drama Goblin was playing DDR. I know, I'm old. I yelled to her. I thought her son was hungry. She tried to give him cheese puffs. He refused. She tried to give him a banana. It wasn't good enough. He wanted happy cakes. Drama Goblin asked if I planned on cooking lunch. I told her I was making something easy for myself. She asked me to make pancakes. I told her I was just planning on making like a cup of noodles for myself and then finishing cleaning. She tells Kai that I'm not gonna make happy cakes because I'm busy. This annoys me because why can't she make her and her son something? At this point, she's been living with me for 2 weeks. Her mom had had Kai almost the whole time. She had needed a break and brought him to Drama Goblin because, well, she's his mom. He starts crying and she goes back to DDR. I crap you not. I was livid. It got me to thinking. I had not seen her feed him all day. So I asked him. He was maybe late 2, early 3. Super smart too. Her mom kept him 5 days of the week and he was in a school-structured daycare because her husband worked all the time and Drama Goblin was stripping. And Kai told me she had not fed him. So I whip up 4 pancakes. 2 for me and 2 little ones for him. I cut them up and sit him down and let him at it. Drama Goblin noticed us eating. She went to the stove and noticed I didn't make her any. She just stood there. I'd left the mixing bowl out and the pancake mix I had used out, so she could make some if she wanted. The stove was still hot, pan still out in grease. I could have went ahead and made her some. I was feeling petty because she hadn't fed her kid, left it up to me, knowing I was cleaning the whole house and most of it, all of it was her mess. She turns to me and says, "You didn't make me any?" "No, Drama Goblin, I didn't. I felt bad because you hadn't fed Kai and he's been so good today. So I made some up real quick and left some out so you can make your own. I have to get down in the basement, where they were staying, to get all the trash up, or something like that." She has always lived like season 10 of Hoarders episode Linda. She moves some stuff around on the stove, paces from the stove to the fridge to the table to the living room where DDR is set up. I get done and wash my plate. I look to see if Kai is done and he is not. Drama Goblin is watching him eat, but not like a mom. She looked like mad or jealous. She grabs the hair on either side of her head and pulls it. She is bawling at this point. I mean, flat throwing a child tantrum, stomping her feet. She screams, "It's not fair, it's not fair, you made him pancakes." I'm shocked. I'm sure I look like I'm catching flies. "I don't know how to make pancakes. Make me pancakes, please. I want pancakes." I mean, Kai didn't even act like that and he was a toddler. I had to walk off. I went to the bathroom and shut the door, just for like a second to gather my thoughts. She was still throwing a fit and then I heard Kai start crying. He isn't even my kid and I went running out to make sure he was okay. Drama Goblin was eating Kai's pancakes. I was so mad. I was like, how could you take food from a baby? "Let me teach you." She cut me off. "I can't, I just can't. I never learned to cook. Just make them for me and I won't eat Kai's." So I turn on the stove and show her to put it on medium. Spray the pan again. Show her how to mix up a batch. She's pacing, not really paying attention. I give her the pancakes after I cooked them. She had the audacity to complain they were too hot and too thick. Like, what the freak? No wonder her first husband left her butt. Also, the son, Kai, is split custody between his dad and her parents. She basically abandoned him and they were able to get custody by claiming abandonment. She claimed they tricked her, but that's another story for another day. All I know is Kai should not be in her possession at all. She does not possess the capabilities of looking after anyone, not even herself. This next story is by MadRen15. My entitled sister wants me to house my niece for free during uni. My niece had to move back in with her mother after the lockdown started. She lost her job and all her classes were online. Her lease was month to month, so she didn't have to worry about breaking her lease. Recently, the schools have reopened and she has started attending classes again. Problem is, her apartment, which was walking distance from her university, is now rented. Parking in the area sucks and it's a 1 hour one way from her mother's house on public transit. I will say now that my niece is also incredibly spoiled and is taking classes for a degree with no practical benefits. By this, I mean that it will in no way help her with a career path, nor are they necessary courses for further education. Got a call from my sister asking if my niece could live with me because I live alone in a 2-bedroom house and I'm a 15-minute bus trip away from her uni. I said no for several reasons. 1. I work nights and need to sleep during the day. My niece is a very loud young woman and doesn't understand the concept of an indoor voice. Last time she stayed in the same home as me, I was sleep deprived because of her practically yelling on her phone, and it affected how I did my job, resulting in a write-up. 2. My niece is also a very messy person. I helped with the move-out and the memory makes me shudder. Some of the unwashed dishes in the sink were tossed because they were beyond cleaning. She tried to just sit on random crap and text her friends and scroll TikTok. I had to take her phone and lock it in the glove box for the U-Haul we rented to get her butt moving to help. My sister still calls me a witch for doing this. 3. While I may have a 2-bedroom home, my second room is my office and work room. I've been in the process of making wire-wrapped necklaces to sell online for extra income, and I need the area as a workspace. It's also my library, for lack of a better word. I keep my collection on novels on bookshelves in there and a comfy old recliner for reading in. 4. My niece is allergic to cats and I have 3. My sister seems to think I can keep them all either in my bedroom or locked up in the basement for the school year. Freak that right there. 5. And this is the big one. My old sister is under the belief that my niece wouldn't have to help out with the household expenses or be expected to cook for herself. She also thinks that my niece shouldn't have to get a job while in school to focus on her studies. Tried to pull the "we're family and should help each other out" card. But that didn't count for crap when my step-siblings nearly made me homeless after my stepdad died and gave me 30 days to find a new place for me and my dog. Dog-friendly buildings where I live are hard to find. The only way I would agree for my niece to live with me is that she would give me $250 a month to help cover utilities and part of the internet. Figured that is a steal considering a cheap place around her school is more than double, even triple that. Plus utilities, and she could use the garage for her car for free. But I would also expect her to buy her own food and clean up after herself, like doing her own laundry, keeping her room clean, and putting her dishes at least in the sink, if not the dishwasher. Would not expect her to cut the grass or shovel snow. The thought of even asking her to do this already gives me a headache. Now I'm getting texts from both my sisters telling me that I'm a horrible person and should open my home to this. That it's unreasonable to expect a 19-year-old to spend 2 hours on the bus every day and yada yada. Part of me feels guilty because I could move my office and workspace down into the basement, can't be a living space due to lack of windows, but I can't afford the expense of a second person in my home without them chipping in for the bills. Nor will I lock my cats away in their home. Family is family, and that's what makes this truly difficult, but even for the $250 a month, it's not worth it. You're going to end up being miserable for that entire school year and having to make all these weird compromises that $250 a month won't make it feel worthwhile at all, regardless of family or not. And our final story of the day is by 3 Creen, No Talk, Future Karens in the Making. Not that big an incident compared to other stories here, but hopefully still worthy of being told. I went to the park with my sister and her family, and her friends and their families for the Pokemon Go Community Day today. Park was busy obviously, but we were able to stake out a spot near the sand pit, can hit all the Pokestops without moving, and kept to ourselves, same with the other families in the park. Obviously, after about an hour, the kids start getting bored of catching Pokemon, so they start playing in the sand pit, with my nephew and friend's son making 2 sandcastles for a mock battle. Relevant. Niece and friend's daughters were making food out of sand and try to get us adults to eat it. Not relevant, but still funny. A little while later, these 2 sisters walk by and the younger one deliberately stomps on one of the castles. Friend's son complains and tells them not to touch their work. The sisters wander off, only to return a little while later where the younger sister very gleefully stomps on the other sandcastle. The younger sister was like 4 or 5, while the older one looked to be around 8 to 10, so the older sister should have known better after friend's son complained at them before, and should have stopped her younger sister, but didn't. However, This time, my brother-in-law and friend's husband saw it and calmly confronted the pair, keeping their distance and using that parent lecture voice along with the lines of, "Hey, be nice, don't destroy other people's work, there's plenty of space in the sandpit if you want to play too." Out of nowhere, what appears to be the entitled father shows up yelling at us about why we were yelling at his daughters. We weren't. Both brother-in-law and friend's husband countered they weren't yelling. He had a broken Eastern European accent of some sort, so we're not sure how much English he understood though. But our attempts to calmly explain about playground etiquette was met with the entitled father interrupting them each time, shouting, "No talk," and wagging his index finger at them, as if we were kids that had to respect and obey him. He then called his daughters away from the sandpit and directed them to the playground. Then he turned his back on the brother-in-law and friend while they were still talking. Still standing close enough to hear us, but in a defiant, arms-crossed pose where you know he is stating he is deliberately ignoring you. His whole attitude just screamed, "Don't talk back to me, I don't have to listen to you. I'll let my daughters do whatever they want." Friend's husband didn't want to cause a scene since there were so many people around, so we just let it drop. My sister later told us that she encountered the sisters earlier as they tried to take some of the sidewalk chalk we had brought to the park. They just walked up to the unopened box and tried to take them, but my sister stopped them and tried to get them to display some manners and ask first. None of us were using them anyway, but they walked away instead. Funny how their dad didn't confront my sister that time, but chances are he was too far away. Most times at a playground, you can usually tell who's the parent because they'd be nearby and monitoring their kids. It wasn't until our entitled father started rushing to the sandpit that we were able to recognize him as such, because from where he started, he was really far away and nowhere near his kids at all. You can tell this dad is going to be one of those types that tries to force others to let him have his way and let his daughters do whatever they want, which would explain why the sisters had no restraint in their actions. Their dad was basically ignoring them and not teaching them any manners. And they'll grow up to be similarly entitled Karens too, never experiencing being told no. Just counter with, "No talk," and wiggle your finger at the person. That'll win any argument. And I caught 23 shiny Porygons. Unfortunately, I would think most of the time if you're not a very involved parent, that can really manifest in some negative mannerisms in the child when they grow up. You always see these situations and you think, man, it would be so easy to just not do that and be so much better, but it runs kind of rampant, unfortunately. But good job on the Porygons. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So if you have a favorite story of the day, let me know which one and why in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like and subscribe if you haven't, and turn on notifications so you'll never miss an upcoming video from the Storytime channel. Every little thing that you do helps the channel grow that much more, so no matter what you did, thank you for supporting me right here on the Storytime channel. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all next time right here.